I am joined by Robert Griffin III, James White, Field Yates Meanakimes. All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays. What's going on, everyone? Tayler Kyles here for CLNS Media, coming at you with another episode of Pat's Daily, brought to you by our good friends at PrizePicks and Gametime. Today, I'm joined by a familiar face. You all know him. You all love him. One of my absolute favorite people in this industry, Derrik Klassen, co-host of the Athletics Football Show, here to talk Drake Maye. We had the bye week. We're getting back into the swing of things this week, but I would have been remiss if I didn't sit down with you, buddy, and talk about what he's been doing, because it's been remarkable. We talked about him multiple times, even before he was drafted and after, and I don't think either one of us really expected how quickly he's evolved his game and grown. So this is going to be a really fun discussion. We're going to talk where he ranks among the other rookie quarterbacks, close out with what he can improve on, all that good stuff. We're going to be very thorough. So without further ado, my man, how are you doing? And welcome back to the show.
I'm doing great. I was, like you said, we talked about him, I think, before the draft, early in the season. And I was very excited for when we got to this point, when it would be week 14, 15, when we can really settle down and talk about, like, okay, we've seen him play a dozen or so games now. Let's really dig into this thing. So I'm very excited that we're finally here and get to talk about a player that we thought was going to be good and turns out he's pretty good.
He is pretty good, and especially in a quarterback class among rookies, that's been very impressive. Jaden Daniels has looked good. Bo Nix has looked good. Obviously, J.J. McCarthy unfortunately hurt, but a lot of these guys are impressing early on. So I'm curious, from your perspective, Drake Maye obviously hasn't played as many games as those guys. Very different situations and supporting casts. Where do you feel like he individually ranks among the other rookie quarterbacks?
I think he's pretty definitively number one. I think, obviously, when you look at the numbers, it's Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix are pretty clearly going to be ahead of him. But I think when you watch the film, what Drake Maye is able to do, I think when you watch the film, you see more of what the Matthew Staffords, the Justin Herberts, the Josh Allens are doing. You can see the nuggets of it in terms of his pocket movement, some of his placement and aggressiveness, particularly over the middle of the field, some of his athleticism, which, I mean, Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels also have that, but I do think you see it with him as well. So he, to me, is just, you can say maybe that Daniels and Nix have some degree of consistency, maybe within structure, that those guys don't. I would also argue that particularly in Nick's cases, the structure is much better because Sean Payton turns out still really good at this. But I just think that the peaks of what Maye gives you right now are unbelievable, and what you search for in a top 5-6 quarterback. And then the floor has just been considerably higher than I thought in year one. I thought there would be a little bit more ups and downs, but I think what he's giving you down to right now is really good.
And Mike, we already talked about the improvements. So let's get a little deeper into that before we get into some film clips. What is it about his game that's most impressed you? Because we knew he had the arm talent. I think we both thought his pocket presence and the way he read defenses was more impressive than he really got credit for, especially as a guy who's 22 years old. This is his 3rd year of starting experience. So what do you see in this game that kind of made you go, okay, hold up, Drake? Like, year one, I didn't think we were going to quite see this young man.
I think, to me, it's two things. First of all, I would say I thought we would get more of the roller coaster play down to down throughout the course of a game. Now, I think late in some games, he's had some moments where it's like, all right, man, what are you doing? And I think some of that is just they're down in the game and he's very willing to put himself in compromised positions to potentially make a play. I just thought we would get more of those plays, like on a 1st and 10 in the second quarter, that we just aren't really getting, which I think has been really impressive. And then to me too, I think the footwork stuff was always really overblown with him. And I think people thought that it would be like a problem forever. I did think it was like a thing that he would need to fix. And I said, I think before on this show, his drop back footwork, just getting 1 to 2 to 3, making sure you have a stable base to get a timing route out. That was where I thought he struggled a little bit coming out of college. That to me has not been an issue almost at all in the NFL. You get maybe one play a game, which is more just in line with like normal rookie stuff than it is for like a particular problem with him. So I think those are the two things that have been, on the outcomes of what they could have been year one coming out of college, really on the high end for him.
100%, especially with the footwork, because in the preseason, in his first few starts, you did see there was like the heel clickiness. His base was really narrow. So you're just like, there's no way that you're going to be in a position to throw the ball without having to waste body movement and time by getting yourself in a position. I don't know what it was, but really over the past like month and a half, you've seen, like you said, the base is wide. His footwork and his eyes are tied together. It's really been remarkable the way he turned the corner. And you mentioned kind of those like roller coaster decisions. When it came to sacks and the strip sacks, that's probably the one area where I was like, Drake, my guy, you can't keep doing this. And the one against Sealer where he tries to swim him, I'm just like, that is the kind of thing I expect from like Caleb Williams. Not from you, my guy. Like, you got to cut that. But last week was his first game with no turnover-worthy plays. And when you look at his interceptions, the worst one was the Bears. It was like that Minnesota game where he just threw right to a defender on the sideline. And you're like, I don't know what he saw there. Or I think he said he was trying to throw it away. I don't know what happened there. But like all the other interceptions, they're different cases. It's the first one against the Texans.
Exactly.
Inaccurate ball. I swear going into that game, I'm thinking, I know it's going to be like Brady in the Super Bowls where he just throws one that's so ugly because he's got the yips and he's kind of got to settle down. And that's exactly what we got. I was like, all right, it's out of the way. We're good. You know, he made the mistake. It's done. But it's always been different. And a lot of them, it's hard to really say, oh, what are you thinking there? It's more, he's a young guy. Just don't repeat the mistakes. And like Drake Maye says, week in and week out, he's done a great job of minimizing those. So without further ado, we've done a lot of talking. Let's get into some tape, my man. You got 5 clips of Drake Maye. All good. We're going to touch on the bad, but it hasn't been a whole lot of bad, so we're just going to have a brief discussion at the end. But first clip, brother, what do you got?
All right, hold on. Let me.
I think I control it.
There we go. We're in here. Okay, so this was. People talked a lot about his pocket movement and his sometimes unnecessary movement or what looks like unnecessary movement. To me, I think he's always done a really good job of making throwing windows a little bit more easy, a little bit more accessible while also protecting himself. I thought this throw against the Titans was a really good example of that. So I'll run it. He gets through his drop back, and you can see, I forget who the receiver is here. It might be Kayshon Boutte, but he's running like a 12-yard, 10-yard curl route, and he's going to try to stop in this void. There's a world where maybe May could just hitch up right there, throw it super early and try to get to him here. But because he's not really close to his break yet, I understand why May doesn't want to do that. And at the same time, he feels, I think, Jeffrey Simmons, terrifying human, by the way, to be running at you. He feels him, kind of coming down the barrel here. So he sidesteps a little bit to his right to free access to this throwing lane and still has unbelievable arm talent to be able to fit this throw in. I mean, this is just, to me, this is the combination of really good spatial awareness, really good understanding of the timing of the play and what he's actually seeing his receiver do, and then just having the physical talent to make good on it. I mean, there's just not many guys who are able to make a throw like this. Like, he's just really, really impressive in that way.
The scramble touchdown was insane at the end of the game, but this might have been my favorite throw of his because, like you said, tight coverage, the window is not great, you're under pressure, you're on the move, and he puts it right on Kayshon's chest. I actually spoke to quarterbacks coach T.C. McCartney, and I asked him, because early on, there were times where Drake would drift, and he would end up getting himself in compromising positions where he was just getting, like, killed, like taking rib shots, really big hits. Sometimes, you got to make a play, that's what happens, but I wanted McCartney's opinion. Like, is he drifting too much for you? Or is it a pretty fair amount when he's doing what he's got to do? And he's like, yeah, no, obviously, there's sometimes we can be better about it. But Drake has a very good feel of when to drift away from pressure. Like we talked about with his tape coming out of college. It was the same thing. So many times he would drift to one side or the other. And it's like, if you take that in a vacuum, sure, it's bad. But look where the pass rush is coming from or the blitzers are coming from. He consistently knew where they were and escaped the rush. And that's been another thing that Alex Van Pelt has done an amazing job of, is making sure his eyes are consistently in the right place, where other than that Miami game, you don't see him getting killed by the blitz. You also don't see teams blitzing him a lot because they know if you miss or you leave a wide open void somewhere, he's going to exploit it. But I love that throw. I'm glad you brought it up. Now, what's number 2? Keep this train rolling.
This one is actually fairly simple. This just, to me, a lot of people coming out of the draft said that he had some accuracy issues at times, which I thought was pretty overblown. This, to me, I think is just the touchdown that he throws kind of right in front of the corner to Austin Hooper. It's just the ball placement here is delicious. You cannot place that ball any better. It is right over 44 here, the linebacker. Like, this isn't bad coverage. He's within arm length. Like, you're making it a tough throw on the quarterback. And obviously, you don't want to throw it too far to where this ends up near the sideline. You don't want to throw it too high where it ends up near the safety. For him to just layer this ball in the exact spot that makes it easy for his guy to make a little jump and go get it. This is a guy who consistently makes throws like this to the intermediate area of the field. And to me, if you look at all of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, you have to win 11 to 20 yards. May is already proving that he can win in that area pretty consistently.
This game specifically, I don't think he actually missed. I think he was like 5 for 6. The only incompletion was a tip ball to Hunter Henry that would have gotten them into field goal range. That was just a great play by the defender. Other things, Austin Hooper and him are starting to get a little bit of chemistry going. They had the deep scramble touchdown against Miami. They had another play just like this, but way deeper downfield against Chicago. Another one where Drake Maye put it where only his guy can get it. And I remember everybody was complaining about the Patriots going 12 personnel in the red zone early this season. I remember there was a play just like this where Austin Hooper was one-on-one against a linebacker. Jacoby looked right at him and didn't throw it. I'm like, Jacoby, like, it's a linebacker. He's not going to make a play on him probably. Just like give the guy a chance. And I understood Jacoby wanted to be safe, not make a lot of mistakes. But this is what Drake Maye gives you, where when there are those windows and you have a mismatch, you know he's at least going to give his guys a chance to make a play on it. Austin Hooper's been great for them this year, but imagine what that looks like when you keep adding more talent and more dynamic weapons and his ability to put that ball in those pristine locations where his guys can capitalize and make these big plays, because they've been pretty terrible in the red zone. And you fix that, throw a touchdown just outside of it. Another great play, buddy. All right, what do we got next?
Let's see, which one is okay. This to me.
Oh, I love this one. Yes.
When people think about arm talent, I think they think of throwing a dig route 100 miles an hour over the middle of the field, or they think of throwing a speed out where you can just pin it on a guy, or they think of deep shots, all that. Arm talent is being in a compromised position and being able to get the ball out where you need it to. This is what Drake Maye does on this play. He gets kind of pressured here, or not pressured, but he gets moved off his initial read. He doesn't want to throw this, doesn't really like the conflict here. Turns back, and as he turns back, he's got no space to like move and no time to do anything with this throw. Mm-hmm. And he just kind of gets it off and flicks it to the far side of the field to a guy in the flat. I know it's a short throw, but I'm saying like arm talent is being able to make these throws. Like we've gotten so used to it with Justin Herbert, but Justin Herbert does this like 6 times a game, and it really allows the offense to have a much higher floor than it probably has any right to. Like just that snap, that core strength, like the whip in his arm, it's different, man. And again, it's a short throw, but you got to be able to do this as a high level quarterback.
And from a mental perspective, this is one of his best concepts. It's the bow to the front side, and then you got the smash to the other. What's impressed me so much when he runs these plays, they run them like 2 or 3 times every single week. Last week, he had 2 to Kendrick Bourne where he just fired it between 2 zone defenders. And his ability to not only be able to understand, okay, there's going to be a linebacker in this window, I can't stare right there, or that guy's just going to pick it off. He understands how to make sure he creates the windows for that dig route, but he also reads it out well consistently, where if that's not there, like you just saw with Pop, I'm going to go to the arrow route. If those 2 aren't there, like you saw it, that was a full field progression. Sometimes he'll start on the high-low, and then he'll go backside, or he'll pump the underneath defender. I know last week he's had like 3 completions where he pumps the underneath defender and then throws that sail. Last week, the corner didn't bite, and he didn't hesitate. He was like, all right, bet, I'll take what you give me. And that's the kind of stuff where I'm thinking, this is a 22-year-old kid who is making full field reads and making the right decision consistently. There's very rarely hiccups, and I cannot articulate how insane that is. Like, again, we knew he was smart, but to be able to do it with the supporting cast that he has, the fact that he's dealing with pressure, hasn't quite gotten to him yet, or I think sometimes he gets a little deep in the pocket. Like, he's not perfect, but for a first-year guy, it's incredible the mental acuity that he shows and then maximizing it with that really rare skill set.
I'm so glad you bring up the thing where he's able to manipulate flat defenders and stuff sometimes. That game against Houston, he does it to Derek Stingley, where he kind of baits him to run it with, I think, with the back out in the flat, and then hits like a 10, 12-yard out route over it. And I'm like, first game, you're testing one of the best corners in the league like that? Like, yeah, he's probably going to be pretty good.
I don't know if this stat changed, but it was like Christian Gonzalez and Derek Stingley were the only corners that allowed just 1 deep catch on at least 10 targets. I looked like a couple weeks ago. I doubt it's changed. I know it hasn't for Gonzo. The only person who completed a deep ball against Derek Stingley was Drake Maye, that 50-yard bomb, his first career touchdown. Like, that's what we're talking about. Like you said, one of the best corners in the league. He did not fear that man. He said, nope, I like Kayshon Boutte better than I like Derek Stingley. And obviously, the throw itself helped out quite a bit.
It's a nice little badge to start your career with.
Not bad. Not bad. All right, we got some more clips for you and more discourse. But first, quick word from our friends over at PrizePicks. Be right back.
PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. All you have to do is pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up 100 times your cash. And PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. Over 10 million users, sign up today. They invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Plus, PrizePicks now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. Win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4. Count them. Only 4 correct picks. You can do that. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Man, how about Fred VanVleet putting up 38 last week? Could he do it again? What do you think? The freak from more than 10 rebounds? Give it a try on PrizePicks. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game.
All right, we're back, baby. We got 2 more clips, and then we're going to get into a little bit more of what maybe Drake Maye can improve down the road. So what do we got for the last couple?
Which one? Oh, this was okay. This to me it's ball placement and arm talent kind of coming together, but also understanding where the ball needs to be. So this was, I think it's KJ Osborne kind of running down the seam here against the Jaguars. Maye gets to the top of his draft. He knows he's getting split field coverage based on what the weak safety is doing. The weak safety, they're the truth tellers on the defense. They will tell you what this defense wants to do. If this guy's going to move back to the middle of the field, you're getting single high. This guy's going to rotate down. If he starts to come off the hash, you're getting some sort of 2 high coverage. So Maye kind of gives him a check. He goes, okay, dude's coming off the hash. That means I can get 2 high coverage. And if I'm getting 2 high coverage, Osborne up the seam here should have a pocket towards the other hash in between, inside of the other safety who's coming off of his hash as well. So Maye's able to just rifle this one in there. He gives it enough speed to make sure this safety never gets there and to make sure this linebacker can't get there. Gives it enough air to get over the linebacker, but he doesn't throw it towards the back of the end zone where he gives the safety potentially a chance to go run and get it. He gives it to a spot where Osborne can kind of just go down and cradle it away from every single defender. I mean, just to have the awareness of what the defense is doing, where the exact best spot for the ball is, and then be able to layer it in like that. He's just good, man. This, it's just everything coming together.
And this was a concept they ran a few times in this game. I think it was right before halftime. He hit Hunter Henry because basically that sit route, you'd like for it more to be a distraction for those middle defenders, but depending on the coverage, sometimes you just hit that. In the 2-minute, he hit this twice. The first time he wanted the deeper route, pass rush got there. He's like, all right, I got to get the ball out of my hand. Second time, just did it so they could get into, I think it was field goal range. This time, like you said, he got the look he wanted, too high. Then you see that middle defender is looking only at Hunter Henry, and he's like, oh, I got my opening. I'm chilling. So again, the physical talent where, with Mac Jones, if we're being totally honest, I don't have a whole lot of faith that KJ Osborne is catching this in the same fashion where he's completely protected. But Drake Maye with the arm strength and the ball placement and the knowledge of where to put it, again, combining the mental acuity with really impressive physical attributes. I want to let it run one more time before we move on. Oh, my God, that's beautiful. R.I.P. KJ Osborne. Hope you make it.
And just the last thing, too, look at his footwork, how clean it is. He gets to the top of the drop, settles a little bit on his back foot, and immediately lets it rip. It's clean. It's efficient. It's just, again, man, he's a good player.
In the white jerseys and the silver pants, too.
Yeah, looks good.
Execution, baby. All right, Bo. Last clip. What do you got for us?
I mean, this is, I think everyone who's watched Drake Maye in any capacity has seen this play. It's just, I think I would be remiss to not put this play in there. I think just his job, this is, again, goes back to his feel for the pocket, his feel for rushers, being able to get off throws from compromised platforms. The fact that he gets free rushers through his left side, has to slide to his right, make a throw back across his body, and really puts it on the guy in a perfect spot to keep on running. I mean, Pop doesn't break stride at all. He's just running the same way he would have, whether that ball was going to be there or not. To me, it's just, he has been so good against the blitz and so good under pressure this year. And I think this was probably one of the cleanest examples of what that can really, really look like at a high level.
100%. And one, he knows the rusher's coming. Like we talked about earlier, slight adjustment, waits until Pop gets around the underneath defender. He doesn't throw it at him. He waits for that second window. Again, you just don't see that very often. Like from top quarterbacks, they'll show it. But the combination of knowing to drift just to buy yourself enough time, the poise to know that you might take a pretty big shot. Like there aren't a lot of hits that you're going to take that are harder. You might think linebacker, defensive lineman, a safety coming downhill. Usually there's like 210, 15 pounds. Those guys with a full head of steam coming right down an unblocked gap. Like that's a pretty scary sight. I don't care who you are. Drake Maye does not care. The poise to get it out and the understanding of knowing when to throw it and when to buy himself just enough time. I agree. This is one of my favorite reps. We broke this one down after the game, and I think it's maybe top 5 favorite plays, even though you think a short throw, like on the stat sheet, obviously a lot of yards, but what do you mean? He just throws it like, 7 yards? Nah, bro. Like this is a crazy high difficulty play that he's able to make for a huge chunk of yards.
And like you said, it's the knowing when to throw it. I think a lot of rookie quarterbacks or just mediocre quarterbacks would get stuck at the very top of the drop here, realize they're hot, and probably just try to jam this ball out and be like, I want to get it out of here. I don't want to get obliterated. I want to make sure I don't get sacked. But Drake Maye has the calmness, the athletic ability to just, nope, I'll take a hop step over here to my right, make sure I don't get popped. I can get the throw off clean. Boom. Like he just, again, man, you don't even see this every game from some of the best quarterbacks necessarily. And so for him to do this as a rookie in one of his first starts, the future is incredibly bright when you can do stuff like this.
That was literally going to be my transition out of this. I love having him on this damn show. But also, like in this game specifically, watching Stafford, and now I'm like kind of watching him more and more, I'm like, he looks a lot like him.
He does.
Way where it looks completely natural. The poise is consistent. They really never look that rattled. Like Stafford, obviously, he's on the older side. There are some times where if you get pressure in his face, he's going to kind of react. But the way they play, like some of the outbreaking throws, like no one is throwing outbreaking routes like Stafford is right now. But you see that from Drake. Not exactly like the Puka Nacua where it's like over the defender. And like
who else can do that? I mean, that was crazy.
Exactly. Like we don't want to put the bar quite that high. Like Stafford is still a completely different animal. But for a rookie to even be comparable in his execution without the glaring mistakes that really scare you in these young guys, as somebody who in college, low turnover worthy play rate. And I think that was something that got lost in the wash. Like, yes, we talked about it. His ugly plays were like really, really bad, but you saw them and you were like, I'm surprised because he was pretty good the rest of the game. And the decision-making in the NFL has been even better than it was in college. So cool. But of course, Drake hasn't been perfect. We are going to talk about where he can improve and what he could look like moving forward. But first, quick word from our friends over at Gametime. Be right back.
So you want to go to the big game. You're looking for tickets. Celts, Bruins, BC. You want to see what's going on. Maybe you want to go see a show, right? Go check out some music. How about a little culture? So all you have to do is go to Gametime. That's it. Download the Gametime app, and they've got a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you how incredible the deals that you can get on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets and going through different websites. So use the Gametime app, customize your spot. So you just pop up your screen after you hit the app knows what you want. It reads your mind. It's going to give you what you want right there in front of you. Guaranteed deals that make it easier to find the best price on great seats. You got the super deal. Seat views before you can buy. All right, so you click on the ticket. You want to go see the Bruins. You're going to get a chance to look at the ice, to see the angle of the ice as if you were there, so you'll know if you want to buy the tickets. All in pricing. This feature shows you totally upfront how much it's going to cost you with no surprise fees at checkout. Lowest price guarantee. Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time.
All right, Derrik. Now, we've showered Drake Maye with much deserved praise, but like I said, he hasn't been perfect. So where are some areas that you'd like to see him get better, not only as the season goes on, but also obviously moving forward in his career?
I mean, it's going to sound ridiculous, but there's not a whole lot. Like, I think for me, he just needs to kind of continue to get better at the things he is good at. Like, his pocket movement is already good and promising. Let's get a little bit better there. His accuracy, I think, is already good and promising, but continue to get better as you get more reps and more chemistry with some of these players. and all of that stuff. I think his footwork is good. He could probably still like maybe slightly make it even a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, which again is just going to come from, I don't think it's a him problem necessarily. I think it's just all rookies are going to be a little bit less crisp than say a Dak Prescott or a Joe Burrow. And that's just how it goes. So that's not necessarily on him. The only thing I think is specific to him that he does need to fix is some of those errors in big moments where he is a little bit too willing to put himself in compromised positions. It's hard to know how to frame it because I think you just have to live with them until they're gone. Like, if that makes sense, like it's almost the Josh Allen paradigm where he was like this for 3-4 years. And even as recently as a couple years ago was still like that and still has some of those moments. But you get to a point where you get 8 of the great plays and you get maybe 1 of the bad ones that you're like, whatever, man, I don't really care. And right now with Drake Maye, it's more of like you get 3 or 4 of the really good ones and maybe 2 or 3 of the bad ones. And so I think as a rookie, that is totally fine to live with. And you're much more okay with clinging on to what the great moments look like, but just some of his, being willing to hold the ball out randomly with one hand and just some of the weird stuff that he'll do to kind of play some backyard football needs to get toned down just a smidgen.
And I think in those end of game situations, I feel like a lot of it's also just been a lack of chemistry. Like 2 times he's thrown to Pop in big situations and Pop isn't looking for the ball. I think at some point, like the more you feel comfortable and you guys know you know them, like Demario Douglas more often than not has been the one who's in the wrong, more so than Drake. And usually you tend to defer to the quarterback and those kinds of things. But with a rookie, you're thinking, all right, I'll probably lean towards the guy who's been here. Alex Van Pelt's like, no, Drake has been doing the right things. Like Pop took too many steps or Pop didn't turn around. And I'm like, okay, damn. Like, so like you said, as a rookie, those are part of the growing pains, but hopefully he gets more talent around him. Obviously, the guys that are doing well right now continue to grow with him. And then once that chemistry is really there and that timing is down and you know what guys want to do and you mind meld a little bit, I think we could see a whole different version of Drake Maye, which is pretty crazy. But to close out, brother, what should we expect from Drake Maye moving forward? Now, obviously, we talked about it. He's super talented. I think he has the kind of work ethic like the franchise quarterbacks, like a Brady, like a Breeze, or any of those guys where they are going to every offseason, every season, try to get that like 0.1% better. Like you mentioned, the footwork, the accuracy is not bad. It's very good, but he can hone them even more and get better. So where do you think his ceiling is? Maybe within his first contract and then even maybe moving forward.
I think it's dangerous to ever put any quarterback with the potential of like, to me, what is the top 3 right now where it's Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. I think you should never expect any quarterback to get to that level. But I think Drake Maye can certainly get to the next level, which is like the Justin Herberts, the Joe Burrows, what CJ Stroud, I think, has been at points, like Jordan Love. That next tier of like, okay, this is very obviously a quarterback who is helping us all the time and really does a lot to unlock our offense, just maybe isn't quite in that God mode tier that all the other guys are. So, and the thing is, I have a good degree of faith that he will get there. Like, I think by 2026, we will be pretty definitively like around the league that this is a top 8 quarterback. Like, I had so much faith in him coming out of college, and for his rookie year to look even more consistent than I would have imagined. And you mentioned the coaching staff a little bit earlier. It seems like they are more bought in on him than I remember any coaching staff being bought in on a quarterback in a long time. And so that to me is like, all right, if they're bought in on him, the film looks this good, he's that talented, how's it supposed to go wrong? Like, I think he's that good.
The perspective he has for a 22-year-old, I think, is the biggest reason you're seeing this, because they have been like just showering him with praise, just like we've been going all the way back to the spring. Like, they drafted him. We knew they loved the guy, but then you listen to TC and you listen to Van Pelt. Sometimes they'll acknowledge, rookie quarterbacks, and Van Pelt's called him out for the turnovers. He's like, yeah, I don't care if you're a rookie. The turnovers are unacceptable. That needs to get better. He's been willing to call him out, Drake, when he's had things he needs to improve. But everything else has just been like, yeah, no, Drake's doing everything we could possibly ask of him. He's making great progress behind the scenes. And like you said, those top 3, like those are one-of-one talents. You can never make those types of comparisons. But it feels like Drake is kind of getting that point that Mahomes got to later in his career, when at first it was bombs away, and then he realized, well, I don't really have the personnel to do that anymore. I'm just going to do the death by 1,000 cuts approach. And that's literally Drake. He didn't even throw a deep pass last week. He's really refrained from going deep because he understands, I may not have the guys like throwing deep. The Kayshon Boutte ain't working. Let me just work the underneath part, take what the defense gives me, and do my best to make sure this offense can operate on schedule. So Once again, Derrik, as always, great time, brother. Thank you so much for taking the time. Before I let you go, please let the people know, if they don't know already, where they can find you, what great stuff you got coming down the pipeline that we should be looking out for. I think this is going to drop on Friday, by the way. We're recording this on Tuesday, so if there's anything around that time frame, I want to make sure I'm being fair.
Yeah, once again, thank you for having me. I mean, anytime I can get on, 30 minutes to get on the soapbox for Drake Maye, I don't think I'll ever turn it down. So this was a great time again. You guys can find me at QB Class, both on Twitter and Blue Sky. I know a little bit more people are over there now. Obviously, the Athletic Football Show. I'm actually going to be on more episodes than usual this week. Usually, I don't do the midweek show, but I will be on the midweek show. Or I guess by the time this is out, I will have already been on the midweek show. And so, yeah, that's pretty much where you can catch me.
Awesome. Thanks once again, brother. Always appreciate you, and appreciate you all, as always, for watching. Now, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We will see you next time. Peace, y'all.